from UFOs and that followed, the family began noticing subtle disturbances in the house, events small enough to dismiss individually, yet troubling when viewed together. These incidents centered mostly around Gwen, who spent more time inside the home. At first, she simply felt forgetful. She would unpack groceries and turn around for a moment, only to find the items neatly placed back inside their bags. Cooking utensils she had just set on the counter would reappear in the sink or across the room. Clothing she laid out for the children vanished and was later discovered folded in unexpected places. Gwen questioned her memory, wondering whether the stress of the move had overwhelmed her. But soon, the incidents escalated beyond simple misplacements. One afternoon, Terry left his heavy fence repair tool on the ground beside him while working. Moments later, it was gone, simply gone. The family searched for days, only to eventually find it perched over 70 feet high in a tree, as if dropped from the sky. Inside the house, objects shifted position whenever no one was looking. Doors that had been firmly shut would slowly creak open on their own. Gwen heard faint footsteps pacing the hallways even when everyone else was outside. On several occasions, she caught glimpses of shadowy figures darting around corners or standing just behind her in reflections, only to vanish when she turned. The family tried to rationalize the events. Maybe it was exhaustion, maybe it was local wildlife, maybe it was the stress of the move. But deep down, all of them felt the same unsettling truth creeping in. Something inside the house was watching them, responding to them, and manipulating their world in ways they couldn't understand. The ranch was beginning to reveal its hidden temperament, one that seemed both intelligent and malicious. Chapter 5. The Lights in the Night. One evening, while giving their nephew a tour of the property, Terry noticed two bright headlights glowing on the far side of the ranch. Believing they were trespassers driving across his land, he immediately started toward the lights to confront them. But as he moved closer, something felt off. The lights emitted no sound, no engine rumble, no crunch of tires on gravel, nothing. Then as Terry came within a few hundred feet, the lights rose silently from the ground. They floated upward with an almost graceful motion, drifting above the treetops before vanishing into the dark sky. Terry and his nephew stood frozen, unsure of what they had witnessed. From that night forward, strange lights appeared regularly. Some hovered low over the fields, pulsing with a soft glow. Others darted across the sky at impossible speeds, changing direction with movements that no aircraft could match. Occasionally, they seemed to react to the family's presence, flickering brighter when approached or zipping away the moment Terry lifted his binoculars. As the phenomenon intensified, the Sherman's cattle began disappearing. At first, Terry assumed the animals had wandered off, frightened by the unusual activity. But when he tracked their hoof prints through the snow or mud, the trails often ended abruptly, as if the cattle had been plucked from the ground. Its presence carried an unsettling stillness, as though it were studying the landscape beneath it. Terry crouched behind a fence post, watching. He could feel the cold tightening his joints, and when he shifted his weight, a loud crack echoed from his knees, a sound sharp enough to cut through the frozen silence. Instantly, the craft reacted. The colored lights blinked out. The vehicle pivoted on its axis, turning deliberately toward Terry's position. For several agonizing seconds, it hovered motionless, as though evaluating him. The air felt charged, pressing heavily against his skin. Terry gripped his rifle, unsure whether to flee or stand his ground. Then, without warning, the craft drifted backward. It glided over the treetops, past accelerating smoothly until it disappeared into the darkness without making a single sound. The encounter shook Terry deeply. This was no simple aircraft, no drone, and no hallucination produced by stress. Whatever it was had responded to him directly, as though acknowledging his presence. It had behaved less like a machine and more like a sentient observer. The incident left Terry with more questions than answers, and the unsettling realization that the things haunting the ranch were evolving. They had progressed from lights and shadows to structured, intelligent craft. And worse, those craft were now paying attention to him. Chapter 8: Portals in the Sky. As the season shifted into summer, the phenomena above the ranch transformed yet again. This time, the sky revealed something far stranger than hovering lights or silent aircraft: motionless orange spheres that seemed to open windows into another world. At first, Terry thought they were distant clouds or atmospheric reflections, but through the scope of his rifle, he saw swirling patterns inside the glowing shapes, as if the spheres were spinning slowly. Then, to his shock, he noticed something impossible. The interior of the sphere showed a bright blue sky, even though the night around him was completely dark. Night after night, the orange openings appeared, hanging motionless for minutes at a time before fading away. On several occasions, Terry watched solid objects enter or emerge from the glowing fields. Some resembled small, fast-moving craft. Others were dark shapes that he couldn't identify at all. The more Terry observed, the more he felt the spheres were not simply objects, but gateways, portals revealing glimpses of another environment that existed parallel to his own. The activity around them suggested intelligence, as if the openings were being used intentionally. These encounters disturbed the entire family. Gwen refused to stay outside after sunset. The children reported nightmares of being pulled upward into the sky. Terry began sleeping with his boots on, ready to run out the door at a moment's notice. Whatever the orange spheres were, they represented something far beyond craft or lights. They suggested the presence of another realm intersecting with their own, and something or someone moving freely between them. The boundaries of reality at Skinwalker Ranch were beginning to unravel. Chapter 9: The Orbs of Death. Among all the strange phenomena haunting the ranch, for unexplained phenomena, an environment where multiple types of anomalies converge in unpredictable waves. Over time, its reputation grew so strong that it earned a title whispered across the community and repeated in research circles: Skinwalker Ranch. To those familiar with the tales, it is not simply a piece of land. It is the epicenter of a mystery that stretches across cultures, centuries, and scientific fields. And for many who have stepped onto its soil, the ranch leaves them with the same impression: something intelligent is watching. Chapter 12: The Ranch of 1,000 Hauntings. From the moment visitors set foot on Skinwalker Ranch, many report an immediate sense of unease, an instinctive feeling that something unseen lingers nearby. Animals behave erratically around the property's boundaries, refusing to approach certain fields or structures without obvious cause. Livestock have vanished without leaving footprints, drag marks, or signs of struggle. Others are discovered lying on the ground, untouched by predators, yet marked with surgical exact incisions no known tool or animal could produce. Former owners recalled nights when the ranch seemed alive with unseen forces. Locked barn doors swung open despite the heavy latches securing them. Massive shadows appeared at the fence line, humanoid in outline, yet far too large to be human. Mechanical rumbling echoed from beneath the ground, vibrating through the soil with no visible source. Pets reacted violently to certain areas, growling or refusing to approach. Even more unsettling was the persistent sensation of being watched. Many described moments where they felt eyes tracking them from the tree line, following their movements through the open fields. Others sensed a presence standing just behind them, only to turn and find nothing but empty air. The events didn't follow predictable patterns. Sometimes the activity intensified for weeks. Other times the ranch felt eerily quiet. Yet those who lived there long enough eventually realized the truth. The property behaved almost like a living intelligence. It reacted, it observed, and at times it seemed to test the people who tried to coexist with it. Skinwalker Ranch became known not just for one phenomenon, but for 1,000 small mysteries woven together, each hinting that the land itself held secrets far older and far stranger than anyone expected. Chapter 13: Lights, Portals, and Things That Shouldn't Exist. Among the countless mysteries recorded at Skinwalker Ranch, the intelligent moving lights remain some of the most iconic. Witnesses describe glowing spheres that zigzag across the sky with controlled, deliberate movements no aircraft can reproduce. They shift from red to blue to white, stop mid-air, and sometimes change direction instantly, as if responding to the people observing them. Researchers attempting to track these lights discovered that their equipment often malfunctioned at the exact moment the objects appeared. Compass needles spun wildly. Metal instruments buzzed with unexplained magnetic fields. Electronic devices shut down without warning. The closer the lights came, the more dramatic the interference became. But the most astonishing reports involve openings in the sky, glowing windows of light that appear in complete darkness. Through these illuminated portals, observers claim to see unfamiliar landscapes, strange skies, and even figures that seemed aware of being watched. Metallic objects sky near the eastern pasture, they noticed a faint glow hovering just above the ground. At first, it looked like a floating ember, an oval-shaped shimmer pulsing gently like the heartbeat of some unseen organism. Deep blue, then white, then back again. The light expanded with each pulse, stretching wider until the oval resembled a window suspended in midair, completely detached from the land around it. And through that window, they saw another world. The terrain beyond was nothing like Utah's sagebrush and flat fields. Towering rock formations twisted into impossible shapes, arching like petrified serpents. The sky above them was darker than any desert night, lit by constellations that did not and could not exist in our universe. A cold, metallic wind seemed to seep through the opening, carrying a faint, low hum. Both men froze. They weren't witnessing a mirage or reflection. They were staring through the fabric of reality. Then the impossible became terrifying. From the other side of the portal, a humanoid figure stepped into view, tall, slender, and unnervingly still. Its silhouette was sharp against the alien landscape, yet its features remained obscured in shadow. It paused at the edge of the glowing window and turned its head, slowly, deliberately, toward the two men watching. In that instant, both felt a pressure in their skulls, as if the being's gaze wasn't just looking at them, but into them. Neither dared to speak or move. The distance between the worlds didn't matter. The connection was immediate and chilling. The creature stood motionless, as if evaluating them, acknowledging their presence across the breach. And then, with the suddenness of a curtain being yanked shut, the portal snapped closed. The light vanished. The hum stopped. The night fell silent again. The two men were left alone beneath the stars, trembling. Later, during separate interviews, their accounts matched perfectly. Every detail, every moment, every shared spark of fear. But one detail haunted them more than anything else. The creature hadn't just appeared by chance. It saw them, it recognized them, and for a brief, impossible moment, two worlds looked back at each other. Chapter 17. The Creatures in the Trees. As investigations continued, one of the most unsettling patterns on the ranch involved silent watchers hiding within the tree line. Late one evening, a research team returning to the main house noticed two bright yellow orbs glowing from between the branches. The lights hovered at human eye level, perfectly still and eerily symmetrical. Assuming they belonged to an animal, the team approached, shining their flashlights between the trees. But the orbs didn't behave like eyes. They didn't blink, reflect light, or waver. Instead, they glowed steadily, emitting their own illumination like living lanterns. When the team moved closer, the orbs rose higher, lifting smoothly until they reached nearly 10 feet above the ground. Then, with fluid, unnatural motion, a tall, shadowy figure climbed into the branches. Completely silent, its form briefly silhouetted before blending into the darkness. Moments later, more lights appeared. 2, 4, 6. Dozens of glowing orbs lit up across the tree line as if an unseen gathering had awakened. The forest seemed to breathe, alive with watching eyes, or whatever these entities truly were. A crushing sense of dread settled over the investigators. Several described feeling pressure on their chests, a primal instinct urging them to flee. Within seconds, the lights began to fade, vanishing one by one until the woods returned to pitch-black silence. Nothing moved, nothing stirred. Yet every team member knew they had been surrounded by multiple beings hiding just beyond sight. The encounter served as a chilling reminder that the ranch was rarely empty. Something waited in the trees. Something patient, observant, and always watching. Chapter 18. The Dugout and the Distortion Field. Behind the main ranch house lies an unremarkable shallow depression known simply as the Dugout. Despite its plain appearance, it has become one of the most confounding hotspots on the property. Researchers quickly discovered that whenever equipment was brought near the dugout, something inexplicable happened. Batteries drained instantly, even brand new ones. GPS signals warped, placing devices miles away from their actual location. Cameras glitched with heavy static, capturing fragments of distorted images. Even metal compasses spun in circles, as if trapped in a magnetic storm. Radiation detectors recorded sudden spikes that vanished seconds later, as though an invisible pulse moved through the air. No consistent pattern emerged, yet the events repeated frequently enough to demand serious attention. One investigator described stepping into the dugout and feeling the world tilt around him as if gravity had briefly shifted. Dizzy and disoriented, he stumbled backward and returned to normal instantly. But when he looked up, he saw his teammates staring at him with alarm. From their perspective, he had vanished for almost 5 seconds, blinking out of existence before reappearing in the exact spot. When they reviewed the video footage, the recording revealed something even more disturbing. The moment he entered the dugout, his body stretched unnaturally, elongating as though space itself had warped around him. For a brief instant, his form twisted and shimmered, as if reality were bending like rippling water. Nothing on the ranch has provided clearer evidence of spatial distortion. The dugout doesn't just affect technology, it appears to alter the environment itself. Whether it is a portal, a natural anomaly, or something buried deep beneath the soil remains unknown. But every investigation into the dugout ends with the same chilling realization. Whatever lies beneath it is powerful enough to warp reality, even if only for a moment. Chapter 19. The night something spoke back. After years of unexplained encounters, the research team made a bold decision. They would attempt to communicate directly with whatever intelligence was interacting with the ranch. Using specialized high-frequency radio transmitters, they sent controlled signals into the sky, into the ground, and toward various hotspots known for paranormal activity. The responses came shockingly fast. At first, his head, claiming a distorted voice had forced itself into his mind, urgent, unintelligible, almost demanding entry. Then, as suddenly as it began, the vibration stopped. The radar returned to normal. The buried structure went silent. But silence didn't bring comfort. No one present believed the thing underground had ever been dormant. It had simply chosen to hide again. And whatever lay beneath the ranch was not a passive artifact. It felt aware, listening, waiting. And the crew could not shake the sense that their discovery had awakened something that preferred to remain concealed. Chapter 22. The Night the Ranch Fought Back. The final event in this series of disturbances unfolded on a night unusually calm for the ranch. No wind, no storms, just a and this time it had chosen to be seen. Chapter 24. The Night the Sky Opened Again. Weeks after the reappearance of the wolf-like entity, a new phenomenon emerged, this time not from the ground or the fields, but from high above the ranch. At exactly 2:13 a.m., a researcher monitoring live sky footage noticed a faint circular shimmer hovering over the property. At first, it looked like heat distortion, a wavering patch of air that refused to settle. Within seconds, the distortion widened into a golden ring of light suspended in the sky. The team raced outside, stopping beneath the luminous circle that now pulsated like a beating heart. Through the ring, they could see shapes, tower-like structures, cliffs glowing with unfamiliar energy, and a horizon filled with stars arranged in patterns no astronomer could recognize. It resembled a cityscape, but not one of this world. As the investigators watched, an immense silhouette moved across the threshold of the ring. They saw only part of it, a limb, a jointed metal structure, or perhaps the appendage of something biological yet massive. Whatever it was, it belonged to a being or a machine far larger than the portal itself. Before anyone could focus, the golden ring snapped shut. The collapse pulled the light inward like a vacuum, sending a shockwave that knocked the team to the ground. When they reviewed the footage the next morning, the recording clearly showed the ring and the golden glow, but the alien landscape behind it had vanished. The portal appeared empty in the saved video, as though someone or something had erased the background entirely. This was not a glitch. Every frame that should have shown the other world was digitally blank, overwritten with black. The team realized with growing dread that whatever existed beyond the portal possessed not only technology capable of opening rifts in the sky, but influence over their equipment, their data, and perhaps even their memories. Something on the other side had not wanted to be seen. Chapter 25, The Message Buried Underground. While strange noises and lights frequently plagued the ranch, the most chilling discovery emerged not from the sky, but from deep below the ground. Researchers monitoring radio frequencies one night detected an unusual signal, steady, rhythmic, and unmistakably artificial. The source didn't match aircraft, satellites, or nearby communications. It was coming from beneath the ranch itself. Using advanced ground-penetrating radar, the team located a massive buried object, perfectly round, metallic, and impossibly smooth, as though crafted with precision tools no human civilization possessed centuries or even millennia ago. The structure resembled a gigantic disc, hundreds of feet across, resting beneath layers of soil and stone. Curious, the team transmitted a series of controlled frequencies toward the object. To their shock, the buried structure responded immediately. Instead of static, they received a structured pattern, a sequence of tones spaced with exact mathematical precision, almost like a coded message. For hours, they recorded the pulses, gradually noting that the sequence was shifting, growing more coordinated. Then the tones changed completely, forming the closer it came. Its body bent in impossible angles, limbs too long, joints protruding like insect anatomy. It stopped just before reaching the threshold of the portal. The creature raised an arm, thin, jointed, almost skeletal, and touched the portal's boundary. The oval distorted violently, pulsing as though resisting the contact. Then, with a sound like a bone snapping in two, the portal collapsed. The mist vanished instantly. The field fell dark. The team stood in silence, shaken by what they had witnessed. This portal had not been random. It had not flickered open on its own, nor had it shown images meant to confuse or disorient. Something on the other side had intentionally approached, intentionally reached out, and intentionally tried to cross. Chapter 29. The path that wasn't there yesterday. For years, workers on the ranch whispered about a mysterious dirt path that appeared and disappeared near the eastern fence line. It was never in the same place twice, and it often vanished by morning. Most dismissed it as misremembered trails or tricks of light, until the day the team found one freshly formed, cutting deep through thick, untouched brush. The shrubs lining the trail were crushed outward as though something massive had forced its way through during the night. The soil bore no footprints, but the disturbed vegetation proved the path was newly formed. Curious and unnerved, the team followed the trail. The deeper they walked, the stranger the environment became. The air grew unexpectedly warm, almost humid despite the cool morning temperature. Insects were absent. Not a single chirp, buzz, or flutter broke the silence. Their handheld radios crackled incessantly with static. A faint metallic smell drifted through the air, hot iron or scorched machinery. After several minutes, the path came to an abrupt stop. It didn't fade or blend into the landscape. It simply ended, cleanly, unnaturally, as if the thing creating it had vanished mid-stride. The investigators turned back toward the ranch, but within seconds, confusion swept over them. The path behind them was gone. The brush stood uncrushed and pristine, as though no trail had ever existed. Even their footprints disappeared. Yet the cameras mounted on their chests had recorded the entire walk, showing the path clearly. Whatever had created that trail didn't use roads for travel. It created them, temporarily, purposefully, and erased them once they were no longer needed. The ranch didn't merely distort reality, it rearranged it. Chapter 30. The sky that opened twice. Strange lights had filled the skies above the ranch for weeks. Darting orbs, silent craft, streaks that moved against the wind. But nothing compared to the night the heavens themselves split open. It began as a thin, glowing crack stretched across the clouds, pulsing like a wound of pure light. The crack widened into an oval several meters across, revealing a swirling sky of red clouds and jagged mountains beyond it. The landscape was not Earth. It wasn't even close. The opening flickered violently, then stabilized. That was when the figure appeared. Tall, gaunt, and strangely proportioned, energies collided with the present. Researchers felt it, the air thickening, a sense of being observed, the faint hum of something beneath the soil. Time seemed malleable. Events from centuries past echoed in every anomaly, in every flicker of light, and in every silence of the night. Here, modern instruments failed to measure the ancient. The ranch was alive with history, timeless in its awareness, as if the land itself remembered horrors beyond human comprehension. The team realized with a chill that they were not merely investigating phenomena. They were stepping into a tapestry woven through generations, where myth and reality converged, and where the past continued to cast its long, dark shadow over every blade of grass and every whispering wind. Chapter 33. The Spike in Activity. After Robert Bigelow sold the ranch in 2016, the land seemed to awaken. Almost immediately, strange occurrences multiplied, as though the earth itself had waited for new observers. UFOs hovered above the homestead, silent and impossibly steady, their metallic surfaces reflecting nothing but the darkness. Orbs darted through fields at speeds no human eye could track, weaving patterns that defied physics. Horses shied without reason, dogs barked at nothing, and livestock vanished for hours, sometimes days, only to reappear miles from where they had been last seen. The new owner, when confronted with skeptics, shrugged. "You're delusional," he said, but even he could not deny the undeniable. The ranch had never truly slept. Its presence was patient and predatory, aware of every gaze, every step. Those who entered its domain quickly learned that observation alone was insufficient. The land had its own will, choosing what to reveal, what to conceal, and what to twist into terror. The team realized something profound. Skinwalker Ranch was not dormant. It watched, it waited, and it struck with precision, reminding anyone who came close that some mysteries are not meant to be understood, only endured. Chapter 34. The Unanswered Questions. Decades of study had yielded thousands of hours of footage and countless first-hand accounts, yet clarity remained elusive. Was the ranch extraterrestrial? Some sightings suggested craft of impossible design, yet no definitive proof had surfaced. Could the military have experimented with unknown technology? Possibly, but strange events predated any documented operation. Native lore offered another explanation. Skinwalkers, shape-shifting entities with ancient power. Some occurrences matched the legends, yet many did not. There was no singular theory that encompassed all the anomalies. What was certain was intelligence, deliberate, cunning, and terrifyingly aware. It tormented humans selectively, mutilated animals with surgical precision, manipulated machines, and warped reality. Cameras malfunctioned, compasses spun, and shadows moved where none should exist. Skinwalker Ranch was a nexus, a place where the line between natural and supernatural blurred. Reality itself seemed malleable, bending around the will of an unseen presence. Observers were never mere witnesses. They were participants in into its awareness. And every night beneath its sky reminded them that some knowledge comes with the price of terror, and some mysteries are never meant to be solved. Chapter 36: Remote Viewing and Interdimensional Hints. In a controversial experiment, Nides recruited remote viewers. Individuals Another recounted the mutilation of a calf, claiming it had been carried out by an interdimensional drone, mechanical yet alive. To the whim of something both ancient and infinitely clever. Chapter 38: The New Owners, The New Surge. In 2016, Skinwalker Ranch changed hands, sold to adamantium real estate under the condition that research would continue. Almost immediately, the land awoke. UFOs were photographed hovering over the homestead, metallic and silent, reflecting moonlight like polished glass. Orbs darted across fields, moving with impossible will of an unseen presence. Those who study it are tested, manipulated, and often terrified, yet they return echoing through the fields, forever unseen yet profoundly felt.
Shadows crawl where the light won't go. A silent wind, it starts to grow.